Hello, and welcome to the MyHeritage webinar series. I'm Miriam Pierre-Louis, your host, broadcasting to you live from Eastern Massachusetts. Today we have Janet Kavorka, who is with us live in Utah for her class, Enlightened Design with MyHeritage Chart Creation Tool. Thanks to Janet, and thanks to all of you for registering for today's live webinar. So wherever and whenever you are, glad to have you with us. And now to introduce our speaker. Janet Kavorka is the owner of Family Chart Masters. She is the author of Zap the Grandma Gap book and workbooks. She writes the Chart Chick and the Zap the Grandma Gap blogs. Janet is the past president of the Utah Genealogical Association. She also teaches genealogy and library science at Salt Lake Community College. Please put your virtual hints together and let's give Janet Kavorka a nice, warm webinar welcome. Janet, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Good. It's nice to be here.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to talking to you all.
Yeah, nice to have you here. I'm going to switch the controls over to you.
Okay.
And you should see share my screen or something like that. Yep.
I'm going to just show you some things. I've got a lot of pictures and charts to kind of slide into the screen here, but I want to show you what it's really like, not just, slides. So
all right, well,
we're going to try that this time.
Time's all yours then.
All right, let's get started. Well, I'm excited to talk to you about MyHeritage and their charting tools. Legacy, which is Legacy software owned by MyHeritage, of course, and MyHeritage are some of the best tools out there anywhere for creating charts, and it's really easy for me to recommend them. We at Family Chart Masters, we do all different kinds of charts. We have designers that do custom charts, but we also are the official printers for MyHeritage. So when you order charts, they come through us, and we get to see amazing charts that get shipped all over the world. I should have looked today at where we're shipping the charts from MyHeritage that came in, but we've shipped to over 64 countries. And I think we're at 65 now, and it's exciting to see these families from all over the world in all different languages, and beautiful photos, and it's just really fun to work on MyHeritage charts. They have a great reach. You'll never find anyone more passionate about charts than I am, I think, about genealogy charts. I honestly feel if everyone understood more about their family history, that they would have a more compassionate attitude towards other people. I think family history gives you an amazing perspective on life and a lot of gratitude and a lot of wisdom. And I think that we would be kinder to each other if we all knew more about our background. And there's no better way to share your family history with the non-genealogists in your family, or even the genealogists in your family, than by printing charts, because it shows the time span that your family goes and runs through. It shows you the places. They can show you the places. They can show you documents. They can show you all sorts of things like that, but they also show the relationships and how your family came to be, and where it's going next. And so I really am very passionate about charts, and of course that's what I do. So I'm excited to talk to you today about MyHeritage's tool. Let's go right in. Under the family tree, here's my own family site. We're going to use some of my own information today. There's my husband and I, and the Carpenter side, my maiden name, and then the Kavorka side of the family. So it seemed like that wedding picture was a good header for our website here on MyHeritage. I'm going to go up to the family tree tab, and I'm going to go down to more, and right under there is print charts and books. And we're going to go through this chart tool that they have here on the website, and we're going to go through really thoroughly so that you're confident that you know how to make the best kind of chart for your needs and for your family. And we're going to talk about some design issues and some things to watch for, because we've seen some mistakes, of course, coming through. Of course, we catch those, and we want to make sure that you get the best chart that you get, or that you need. But I've seen what to avoid and what to look for, and I've seen what really comes out beautifully in design and things like that. So we'll talk about that, and we're just going to go through this tool and make sure you know every nook and cranny of it so that you can create the best chart for your family, or the best charts for whatever needs you have. When you come into this page, it says charts and books here on the top, but then there are 3 tabs here that you can almost miss, and 2 more right here that you can almost miss. And I want to make sure you see those right off the top, because that's where we're going to navigate from. Create a new chart, of course, will take you through a couple of steps to create a chart, and we're going to go through that. But over here under My Charts, you can see any charts that you've created previously. And so any charts that you've made before, you can come in and reference and take a look at and even order again if you need to. And then over here under My Poster Orders, I actually went through last night and actually ordered a chart, which I wouldn't normally do because I kind of know where to get one. But I wanted to show you how the order system works, and we're going to go through that as well. But coming back to create a new chart, let's just work down this page for a minute and talk about the different kinds of charts that MyHeritage does. So there's the bow tie. Bow tie is the first type of chart. And over here, they have this wonderful description on each type of chart, and it gives you some ideas of who's going to show up even before you get started. Now, of course, this system is free, and so you can play with it all you want. You can create a chart and then say, hey, no, I think I want to fix this one little thing, and you can go back and fix it, and you can create as many charts as you want. But it's good to kind of know where you're going. So we're going to start with each of these types of charts, and let me show you what the important parts of each of those are. The first one is a bow tie chart, which shows the men's ancestors on the right and the women's ancestors on the, men's ancestors on the left and the women's ancestors on the right, and then all of their children here below in the center. And this chart is a great format, like it says, for hanging because of its proportions and symmetry. You see that? It is really well, usually, depending on how many generations you put in and things like that, bow tie chart is really well suited to being framed. Some of the other charts we get into get really big and or are maybe smaller or whatever, but this one has good proportions for being framed. So that's a good one for the wall. Then there's the close family chart, and this close family shows the person's grandparents. And actually this thumbnail here doesn't quite show you really. This main person is yellow here, but they only have 2 sets of grandparents. It looks a little more like a descendancy chart, actually. Let me show you. I'm going to pull over my close family chart, but let me show you first. What it shows is the grandparents of the main person, and then the cousins, all of the cousins of the main person. So let me show you my close family chart. This is me here, and hopefully that's big enough that you can see kind of the layout there. This is me right here. Hopefully you can see my hand there. Marion, if you can't, will you let me know? Hopefully you can see my mouse there. This is me down here on that second generation up. So these are my kids and my husband and I. And then it goes up to my parents. It shows all of my siblings and nieces and nephews. And it goes up to my parents, and then both of my parents, it goes up to the grandparents. And then it'll go up and show ancestors, as many as I set that to, as many generations as I set it to. But it also shows the descendants of those 2 other grandparents. And you can see there's my cousins over here. All of these people along this line are my first cousins. These are first cousins once removed, my cousin's children. And these are my aunts and uncles up here. So a close family chart is a really good one to show a little bit of ancestors on both sides of the family and the descendants. It's a good one to get a good overview. Now, we're going to show you a little bit of the limitations to that chart in a minute, and one that shows more people in a minute. But it's a really good one to get a lot of your family out. Good one to show children how they're related to everybody. And now it comes in 2 styles. It comes in vertical and horizontal. Now let's stop and talk about vertical and horizontal for a minute. Vertical and horizontal, you got to keep in mind, luckily they have these thumbnails here. You got to keep in mind which way they're moving. Some people would call this a vertical chart because the piece of paper looks vertical to me, right? But it's actually, in MyHeritage, it's called a horizontal chart because it moves horizontally. So there's the parents the children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren, the family is moving horizontal. And so you can think of that more as the designation of how the family's moving. They're moving horizontally. Whereas in this case, the family is moving vertically, even though the piece of paper usually is going to come out horizontal. So keep that in mind, that the vertical and horizontal refers to which direction the family is moving, not necessarily the size of the piece of paper. Okay. Same thing with ancestors here. So that's the close family chart. It shows grandparents and then coming down. Ancestors is just an ancestor chart. So the starting person is in yellow here again, and it's going to show the ancestors going up. In the vertical chart, again, the family is moving vertically, and then horizontal, the family is moving horizontally. Now let me slide over a couple of charts I have here of my own. This is my horizontal chart. And you can see that the size here, so in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 generations with a minimal amount of information on each person, but some pictures, the size here is going to be about 16 inches by about 45 inches tall. MyHeritage puts a lot of space in between those people, and that gives you kind of a large, spacious format that way. But if you do it vertically, then let's see if that comes up. There we go. If you do it vertically, then my family is moving vertically here, and that's my ancestors. Same information, same people, but you've got a chart that's about 47 inches wide and about 19 inches tall. So it changes the sizing just a little bit. There's spacing again, you know, especially in these ancestor charts where they turn out about the same vertically versus horizontally, but that's going to change drastically when we go to descendants charts. These sizes are similar because you typically have 2 parents and 2 parents and 2 parents and 2 parents. You know, that changes a little with adoption or blended families or things like that. But for the most part, they're very symmetrical ancestor charts. These ancestor charts here on this option are very symmetrical, and it depends on it. Also, one other thing to tell you too about this horizontal versus vertical situation here is that most people, they've actually done studies about this, most people visualize their ancestors going up above them in this kind of format, in this vertical format. But the more exposure somebody has to genealogy, the more they will visualize it as moving to the right, their ancestors moving to the right, like a pedigree chart that you would see. So, whoa. We didn't need that. Sorry about that. So that format, you may be informed about which format you want to take to a family gathering and showing your cousins and things like that, or which one you'd want to send to a brother or sister who's interested in this. You may want to think about that as far as vertical and horizontal, as far as how much they have been exposed to genealogy. And if they haven't, if they're kind of a newbie, you might want to just stick with the vertical layout, because that's the way most people imagine that kind of thing more. All right. So those sizes, vertical and horizontal in ancestors, turn out to be a lot the same because you've got 2 parents, 2 parents, 2 parents. Now in descendants, that puts all of that on its head, because in just a couple of generations, they can get really wide or really tall. And that can change drastically depending on the layout that you choose. With descendants, you're not going to have 2 and 2 and 2. Yeah, people rarely have 2 children and then the next generation all has 2 children, the next generation all has 2 children. You can have 12 children, you can have no children, you can have even 15, you know, in some of the older generations, you can have a lot of children, and those charts get bigger faster. We're going to talk in a minute about how to control the sizes of that. But the descendants charts are really good for sharing with relatives. And this is a great chart to get ready for when you can get back together with your family right now in the middle of COVID and things like that. Hopefully you're planning for when you can get back together. And this is a great chart to be working on to share with your family when you have a family reunion. This is the charts we print all summer long for family reunions. And we always hear back that everybody's really excited to be able to find themselves on the chart, and it just becomes the centerpiece of a family reunion. Again, vertical and horizontal is going to change things up a little bit. And we'll talk about that a little more in a second, as far as how to fit large charts into smaller spaces. But depending on what you're doing there, those two options work really well. An hourglass chart is a wonderful, these descriptions are perfect. I can just highlight them because we see this all the time. An hourglass chart is a wonderful present for a grandfather or grandmother. Right now, if you can't get to visit your grandparents or older people, this is a wonderful chart to send to them, to remind them of all the people that love them and to be able to celebrate their family. We do gifts like this for family reunions, but also for 50th wedding anniversaries or for 80th birthday parties or for Christmas. We do these all the time for Christmas or other holidays where you're getting together with the family, and especially as gifts. So this is a perfect one to send off to your parents or your grandparents. What else do you get them sometimes, but this is a really meaningful gift. And this one again goes vertical. Again, the family is moving vertically or they're moving horizontally, left to right. And you can see how that same amount of information changes drastically from a more frameable size to something more tall and long there. All right, let's talk about the sun chart. First, I want to talk about descendants. Let's get into big descendancy charts. The sun chart is a really fun one, and this is a really exciting chart in that MyHeritage can actually put photos into this circular format. It's a really rare chart, and I don't know of anybody else, any other software or website or anywhere else that can create this kind of chart with photos in a descendancy. Let me show you though something to watch out for in that. And we see this come through once in a while. Here's a descendancy chart of mine. I'm going to scroll in. When you get a descendancy chart, when you develop this descendancy chart, which we'll show you in a minute, sometimes there can be a little bit of overlap. And so they always show you this style of descendancy chart. And depending on how your family plots out, there may be some issues like that. Now, this kind of descendancy chart is going to save you a ton of space, especially if you have a lot of family. And so sometimes that might even be worth dealing with if you need to. I'm going to show you a couple of styles of descendancy charts here. And we're going to talk about like the different sizes here. But this is a really interesting one. You can see here, I don't have a lot of data on, this is my great grandfather here. I'm actually down here. But I don't have a lot of data on my great-grandfather's siblings and his descendants in this tree. I mostly just have it on my grandparents and their descendants. So I'm going to use my great-grandfather here as a kind of a sample here for you to look at as far as how that difference shows with this amount of people. Now, I'm going to show you this in a really small amount of people, but I want you to imagine having 6,000 people on a descendancy chart or something like that. We see really large descendancy charts all the time, and it's really super fun. When you've collected this much information on the family and you're able to get them together or even a portion of the family together, it's super impressive to show a big descendancy chart. And binder clips, like you see up here in the corner, are a really great way to hang those charts up. You can hang them even along a line outside. Hopefully we'll be able to get together soon and even outside and be able to do that depending on where you live, of course. It's a great reunion activity. I'll show you a couple more pictures here. It's good to lay them out on tables and let people interact with them. And these kind of circle charts and big charts like that work well. Now, there's a couple of options here for descendant charts. And like I said, this sun chart is a really good way to condense a large amount of information into a smaller space. But there's other different ways to condense things too. If I take that same Joseph Hatton Carpenter information and I put it in a left to right format, it's going to be smaller than if I put it in a top to bottom format. Let me find one for you here. Hold on just a second. Oh, I think I didn't open that one. Anyway, the top to bottom format is going to have a lot of, it's going to take up more space here. And of course, if you have just names like this chart has, you're going to have a lot less space. And you know, when you're thinking 6,000 people, this may really matter to you. In this small of a family, this chart with pictures and the data is almost 81 inches tall, 17 inches wide. But this one with just names, whoops, comes up quite a bit smaller at 14 inches by 20 inches. So adding those pictures and that data is really fun, and I can show you a few other ways to squish that as well. But you know, if you're talking about 6,000 people, you may want to just take down the amount of data that you're putting in if you're trying to keep it to a more reasonable size. So there's a lot of things you can do there. You can also do, and then the sun chart, of course. This one here that I showed you already, that one comes out to 46 inches tall, almost 47, a little more than 46, and then almost 59 inches wide. So the circle chart is a bit bigger, but it will fit a lot more people in it. And then there's the next one down is the fan chart. And the sun chart, of course, does a regular circle chart with ancestors as well. But again, it's really great that they can fit those pictures in. The fan chart does the same. It's got ancestors and descendants. And this is another good way to fit a descendancy into a small space. But this one here is 20 inches by 22 with that same amount of people. So it's similar to the left to right one that has the names there. And then this is the most exciting chart I think MyHeritage has, and that's the all-in-one. You can actually create a chart that shows all the relatives of the main person, including relatives by blood and marriage. And that's a really great chart to capture everyone in your tree. These can get large, again, but depending on what part of your tree you want to show. I'll show you what one of my trees looks like here. This tree is 189 people, and I've just put in the names here, but I wanted to get a view of the whole tree, and you can see that it's a little over 123 inches wide, so about 10 feet wide and 2 feet tall, a little bit close to 2 feet tall. And if you scroll in here, the really interesting thing about this chart, which I love, is that it'll fit in those sidelines. So back here on this close family chart, let me bring this back up here for a minute. Back here on this close family chart, these are direct lines. So I've got my aunts and uncles here, but if I had this uncle's parents, it wouldn't fit on this chart. So any in-law lines, any side lines aren't going to fit on this chart. Adoptions or blended families. Blended families will fit on the chart depending on how you put them in, but for the most part, this is more of a direct line chart. Where over here on this chart, you can see I've got Katarina Larsdottir, and she's not a direct line person here. She's the parent of one of the siblings in this situation, but it takes Katarina, and because I've got her parents, it'll put a little number by her and move her over here and then show her parents. So she married into the family, but you've got her information over there. Same thing over here, Anna Sophia Gustafsdottir. She married into the family, and she had a previous marriage with Johannes Larsson. And those children from the previous marriage are listed here. And you can see there's a little number that will show you that Anna is also duplicated over here so that you can see the rest of that family. So this is a fascinating chart if you've got a large number of people and you've kind of gone different directions and sideways. This will really help you see a good view of what's going on there. And you can put pictures and more information into this one. I kept this one small by just putting the names in. This is a perfect working chart as I work on this tree. Again, this one has about, let's see, 189 people in it. So it's a pretty decent size really for 189 people, and it gives me lots of white space, which all-in-one charts sometimes do, to make notes and draw in other people and just keep working on this tree. But it gives me a really good view. I'm kind of a visual person. That's probably why I do charts. And this gives me a really good overview of that tree. So it's really a great view. All right. Hopefully, if you've got questions, you're putting them into the chat and we'll answer them at the end. That's kind of what we're talking about as far as the different styles go. I want to dig in a little bit deeper now to the different customization that you can do. Before we do that, though, let me mention the family books. Now, we don't print books, and in fact, MyHeritage doesn't, but they're super easy to download and to get printed really anywhere. The bigger charts are kind of harder to get printed different places, but the family books are easy. You can get them printed at Costco or Kinko's or anything like that. Have them bound or even just spiral bound, or even just put them in a folder. The family book gives you a couple of options as to what you want to put into the content of the book, and you can choose the paper size, A4 or letter, and then just generate that book. It gives you a PDF, and you can take that to your local coffee shop and get that done. So we're not going to focus on books here. We're more talking about charts, but I just wanted to mention that there is that book option too. All right, we're going to go back. Let's take this close family chart. We'll go ahead and leave it vertical, and we're going to start talking a little bit about some inspired design. Let's see. Make sure I've got everything there on that. Okay. Once you've picked out what style of chart you want to do, you come down here to step number 2. And this is where you can choose what the chart looks like. And the charts can be wildly different depending on your style that you want to choose. Now, along here, you've usually got about 12 to 14 styles. Nope. Sorry, I lied. There are 18 styles. And these are always going to be, there's 18 styles, and these are always going to be fairly similar depending on, which format you choose. They're going to be similar. And I can tell you that we've seen all of these come through and be printed, and they're all beautiful, just leaving them as the style. The basic styles that they've given you there, you can choose any of those and know that you've got a good chart coming. But one of the things you want to do is pick when you're coming in to do the style, you want to pick one of these that's similar to what you're looking for. So if you know you don't want a blue background, but you want a tree in it, maybe choose one of these trees, or you don't want any kind of design in the background, maybe even, sometimes this basic white one is so simple and easy. You can go in and add pictures and such, but this basic white one comes out beautifully all the time and classic. I'm going to pick one. Let's go through. I'm going to pick one that's got a solid color. We'll go ahead and just use style 1 here. But once I've done that, you can come back up to the top, and this is where, whoa, why is it not giving me the advanced? Let's choose a different chart. Okay, I may need to refresh. Once you pick one of these styles, let's try this. There we go. You come up to this advanced customization options, and that's where it gets really fun. And you can let all of your creativity show. And this is where you can go in and make sure that everything is just exactly the way you want it. But back to the chart options, you want to start with the one that's closest to which you like, because you actually, once you get in here, it's trickier to change the text or background or line color. You can choose and change other things, but the color of the background and the text and tile the text, background, or line of the chart is going to stay what you've chosen here. So I'm going to see if it'll give me that. For some reason, it's not letting me do style 1, but usually it does. I probably just need to refresh the page, but I'm sure it'll do it for you. Let's go in and take one of the more basic colors, and I'm going to come into advanced customization options. Now, the first thing you have here, and this is not exactly the same for every style of chart, but it's going to be very similar. The first options you have here are the facts for each individual. So remember back on my ancestor chart, let's just bring this in here quick. What we're talking about here in this first facts situation is what facts show, whoops. Okay, what facts show for each person. So on this chart, I have just the lifespan, just the dates, the date they were born and the date they died. But look at all these options here. There's all sorts of things you can do. You can do name only, which again, if you're trying to squish things down and get them to a smaller size, it's good to stick with less facts. And we'll talk about font size as well in a minute. You can do years, which is the one I just showed you, or you can do actual full dates of birth and death. And then you can do dates and places of birth and death. And that's kind of the most common. Usually you're going to see dates and places of birth and death people. But you can also customize it. And there's all sorts of things you can put in here, which I love about this. You can put in, if I say I wanted birth and death dates and places, but I also wanted marriage, I can come in here and add birth and then marriage and death. And it gives you this nice little check mark on the left, which shows you kind of the common ones for this chart. Burial is also very common, but if you have added in your MyHeritage tree the information on education, immigration, I can actually even put lifespan in, and that's the lifespan is the birth and death dates. And I can take lifespan now and I want to move that up to the top. So maybe I want the lifespan at the top, and then the birth, marriage, and death. I could even just take the dates off of that and only have the place on birth, marriage, death, and burial. So maybe this would be at the top would be the years that they were born. And then the birth, marriage, death, and burial would give you the locations, right? So the geography of it. But I'm going to take lifespan off. I'm going to remove that one. Let's do birth, marriage, death, and burial. And I want to go ahead and put that date back in there. If you've got descriptions or if you have a cause of death, you can put that in. But look at these other things. You can put in nationality, occupation, religion. Fantastic to bring a chart to a family reunion that has occupations or education information, and to give your child a chart that shows who immigrated when or what nationality they all were. Super exciting stuff. In fact, we've done, and super engaging, right? So the more information you've got in the database, the more you can put on that chart. MyHeritage allows you to put all of that information on that chart. And once you get all that information on that chart, it's super engaging. We've even done charts for pastors' offices, which show the different religions of his ancestry. There's all sorts of applications for all of this information that really flesh out the lives of your ancestors and help you teach your family about their information and about their history. Now, under here are the facts labels. You can use full labels, which would be birth, colon, or death, colon, or marriage, colon. But you can also use the short labels. If you're worried about a little bit about space, you want to keep it kind of smaller, you can do B and D and M, and that will keep things down a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and put a date and place. Actually, I think I'm going to take burial off this one. Let's remove that. Birth, marriage, and death, or birth and death, are the most common things we see coming through on these charts. But again, the more you can put in there, the better. It's super fun to see things and get people engaged more. Okay, then you move down. Once you got the facts straight, you move down to photos. And you have a couple of options here. Again, if you're trying to save space, maybe turn the photos off. But that's a big loss in my book. I think it's better to have a huge chart with all the data and lots of pictures because it's super engaging. Big charts are awesome. But you can always you can choose always putting in the photos, which gives you a placeholder if you don't have one. Let me see if I can find you one here. On my close family chart, let me show you what these placeholders look like. So you can see here, if I scroll in, let's go into the 100% there where you can see. So you can see here, I don't have pictures in right now for this generation, but I do for the generation above. So they put in some silhouettes. And MyHeritage has great graphics for this. You can see the older ones up here, but if you come down to the children, they're a little different. And depending on the style of chart you do, there's different silhouettes, which I love about MyHeritage. So you can do don't show personal photos. You can do always show folders, which means you'll get a silhouette if you don't have a picture in there, or you can do only show the pictures if they exist. So that will only show those boxes if they exist, and if they don't, it'll just show the information. And then the photo size, this is a place where you can really control the size of the chart as well. You can do small, large, or huge. Now let me show you a little bit of the difference here. This one, let me bring you in here. This one, let me do zoom to page level. Okay, so I had broken this chart up into 8.5 by 11 pieces. So this piece right here you can see is an 8.5 by 11 piece. And so you can see about what size those pictures are going to be. They're about 3/4 inch tall, maybe a little bit taller, and about 2/3 inch wide. But you can see, and that's the small photo size. So you can see, we'll talk about splitting up PDFs into 8.5 by 11s in a minute. But on this one, let me show you this one. We'll zoom to page level here. This is this very same chart, very same people, and you can see that each photo is quite a bit bigger on that 8.5 by 11 page. So this one's a good 1.25 inches, almost 1.5 inches, probably 1.5 inches really, for each picture. And very same chart. In fact, let me show you side by side. Very same chart, but the pictures are quite a bit smaller. So this one's gonna be quite a bit smaller in overall size. This one's gonna be quite a bit larger in overall size. Likewise, I put the full information on this chart and just put the lifespans on the other chart. So exact same chart, but a whole different look and feel as far as the size of the photos and the amount of information and the size ultimately of the whole situation, the whole chart. So you can choose those larger photos, smaller photos, depending on what you want to do. Always includes photos if you possibly can, because the photos are the most engaging thing about a chart. Even if you only have a few, even if you don't have all the photos you wish you did, which we all don't, right? All genealogists wish they had more photos. And if you can, make them large or even huge to really show off those photos. And then you've got design. Now, in here, there are multitudes of options. You're going to have to work hard not to get overwhelmed, but just kind of be creative here. The stylish design of boxes puts the boxes around the photos. So similar to this here. Okay, the box is around the photo, but not around the information. And they call that the stylish one. Now, let me find you, where's my chart? Let's see, I might have to open it back up. Actually, let me show you over here. I can show you right here because I was just creating it recently. This one is the other option. Let me, whoops. Let's see if it'll let me see it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to download it first. Let's open it quick. All right. This one here, you can kind of see the boxes around the photo and the information. Let me open that up quick for you so you can see it well. Let's see. Oh gosh, there we go. Okay, this one here that I just downloaded. Let's move this over. This chart here has the box around the person's information. Now, if you had, again, love those silhouettes too when you don't have those in there. If you don't have, this one's just names, and so it keeps it kind of small. This chart, my grandmother with 4 generations total is only 16 by 11, well, 17 by 11 basically, which keeps it really small, but still has those photos in there. I kept the information off, and these are smaller photos, so that's going to be a smaller chart. But back to where we were. Let's see. Back on creating a new chart and these advanced customization options. The traditional one has the box around the name and the facts and the photos, but the stylish one has just the design around the photos. So you can see here what your different options are, and there's great options in MyHeritage. That's one of the real strengths of MyHeritage, is that it has all these beautiful options and graphics for you with that. You can also not show the frame around the photos and just have the photo there by itself. And then with traditional, you get all these different kinds of borders that you can do. The default is just a regular gray or black line, but you can do a graphical border all the way around everybody. And look at all these options. Like if you had a blue chart, you can put these beautiful kind of leaf ones around. If you had a green chart. Now, I would not get too funky with this. Here's a little bit of style advice. The more funky you get around this, the more it takes away from the images. So you could do some fun things, you know, maybe even for a baby's room or something with some of these cute designs up here like this that are a little more busy. But be sure you keep the chart really simple then. If you're going to have a lot of people on the chart or a lot of information on the chart, choose one of these more simple frames if you're going to put frames around the data and the information. And always, I would make it kind of monochromatic. If you did a yellow background and put this bright green frame around everything, your eye would just see the green frames. They wouldn't really see the pictures or the information that you have. So make sure that you're kind of choosing complementary things to what you've got in the background. All right, lots and lots of orders or options there though. Look, 79 different borders you can choose from. So you could spend so much time having fun figuring out which borders you like and which things, and really come up with something custom and beautiful. I'm going to go back to that line border, close that down, and then you can show a box shadow, which is just a little shadow that shows under the box. Gives it a little more pop. It kind of makes it 3D. If you're keeping things simple and you do use that shadow, that'll kind of pop your pictures off the page, which is really nice, or your boxes off the page. And then the background color of the box. You can use a single background color. You can use no background color. I would suggest if you've got a strong background, like a blue or a green or something like that, which we'll get to background in a minute, but I would suggest using a box color that's white, because you want to be able to see that data. Again, on this one that I just pulled up, I'm doing kind of monochromatic there, and so the data pops okay. It would have been great to put a shadow under these boxes because they would have popped off the page a little better. See, I would go back and try that again with this, which is the great thing about MyHeritage. You can just keep working on it. But if I had done white boxes, filled in white boxes on here instead of the brown that's underneath the beige, that would have popped off the screen the way that this title pops off the screen there. It just gives a little more strength to the genealogy when you use a background color. Or it's really cool to be able to color by gender as well, to be able to do blue and pink. And in some situations, that's really helpful, especially if you've got some different names and you're doing a descendancy chart. It's helpful to be able to see that. But usually, if you can, I would give that box color a white fill, because that, again, will make it pop up the screen. Now we come down to title. You can show a title or not show a title. And that one that I just showed you, that title is kind of overwhelming. I maybe shouldn't show a title there. But again, when you do show the title decoration, you got all these options. Now, again, you want to make sure that those options work with the kind of chart that you're doing. Like, you can get really funky here and maybe even make some mistakes. If you've got a pretty calm background, and then this chart title situation kind of goes with your font. We're going to talk about fonts too, but you can see all the different options. And some of these are more formal, and some of these are more casual. See that one there? Works really well with a more casual looking font. This is a sans serif font, so it doesn't, we'll talk about fonts a little bit here. Sans serif font is something like Arial that doesn't have those little pieces that hang off. So like with a Times New Roman, you've got these little pieces, those are called serifs. And that makes the font look a little more formal. But when you've got something that's a little less formal, like Tahoma, that doesn't have those serifs, that works great with a little less formal title here. This one here, again, is a little less formal, but as you go up here, they get a little more calligraphy-esque. There you get a little more formal. This one up here would work much better. Instead of like a Tahoma, it's going to work much better with a fancier font, like a, let's see, All these font options are so cool too. This one's, again, really, really informal, good for a child or something like that. But an embassy that's going to be a lot more formal is going to go well with this calligraphy that's a little more formal. So kind of think, don't worry about serifs, non-serifs, but kind of think formal, informal, and kind of think about who you're doing it for. If I'm making a gift for my 80-year-old grandmother, I might do something really beautiful and calligraphy and you know, something. This one, again, is a little more modern. I might make that for my sister-in-law who loves, you know, decorating her house and things like that. If I'm doing something a little more formal for my grandmother, I'm going to do something a little swirlier. And if I'm going to do something for my new niece's bedroom, you know, nursery, I'm going to choose something, again, a little more, a little less formal and a little more fun. Now, play a lot with all of those super interesting fonts in the title, but I would not suggest using those super exciting different fonts in the names and facts. So you can do, they give you the option here to do the fact text, the fact labels, and the names different. If you went and put, so here's a really great less formal one again. I might use that less formal one for names and then use something more formal, but stay with the serif sans serif. But keep the names. So a lot of times with Family Chart Masters, we'll just do a basic Times New Roman, but put the font in something really beautiful and swirly like this. So the names you might want to keep more simple. Fact labels, you could do the fact labels. I would keep the fact labels the very same font, but one thing that might be nice to do with the fact labels is to make them a smaller size, so that when it comes out on the chart, the fact labels will be a little less of the focus, but the names and the fact text will be a little more important. So again, I would always keep the names, fact labels, and facts text pretty much similar, unless you're doing something really different. And then the footer is, of course, you know, down on the bottom where it says MyHeritage, and you can change that font as well. That one you could maybe match to the title. And that would work as well. The names, the fact labels, and the fact text, if you can get them up a 12 or 14 point font, that'd be awesome. What we usually shoot for is a 9 or 10 at Family Chart Masters, because that's about the size you're going to see in a magazine or a book. 9 or something, anything too much smaller than that, you're going to have some real issues with seeing it. You know, you may, especially with older people, you may have some trouble with being able to read the text. The title, of course, you want big and bold. You can do that automatic, or you can control it here, which I love. And you can also control whether they're bold or italic. You might make the fact labels bold or italic or both. I'd always make the names bold and then the facts text just regular. Names bold and fact text, again, want to be the same size or same type of font usually, but you could make the names bold and the fact text less bold. Okay, I'm going to move on from fonts before I'm not able to say fact text again. But a lot of things you can do there to really amp up your style and really make this chart special, and really coordinate it to the purpose of your chart. You know, whether, again, like I said, whether it's for my new niece's nursery, I want it fun and cute and something that she'll grow up looking at and hopefully understanding about her family history. Of course, I'm going to tell her lots of stories. If I'm doing it for my grandmother, it's going to be a lot more formal and beautiful. If I'm doing it for my sister-in-law, it's going to be a little more modern. And think about those things as you're choosing these aspects. Background, of course, lots of options here. You can leave it on the background color that you've chosen in that first style. And then you can choose and you can switch out the backgrounds here. And I can vouch to the fact that these graphics are beautiful even when they're blown up really big. We love to see this coming through. There's some gorgeous, even some modern trees, which I love. This one here is my favorite, that circular tree. It just comes out beautiful and modern and fun. This autumn tree is really beautiful too. Trees are great. Another one that I love to see coming through is this one here, especially with a circle chart. This is a really fun graphic with these 4 bicycles going kind of around this world type thing. Super, super fun with a circular chart, especially. You can tile that background image. That's not going to tile those same images, but I'll give you some others. This one tiled is really formal and beautiful. Again, perfect for a grandmother. And then you can also even put in your own image too. And you can do that with fitting it to page or stretching it. I would almost never use a stretched one unless it was maybe some trees or something like that. Normally, if you're going to put a picture in the background of a family or home or something like that, you want to not distort it and just fit it to the page. Just kind of what that does is it kind of centers it. So that's useful. You can also tile it, again, probably not useful unless you're using something like a damask like that. And then you can also control how opaque and transparent it is. That's going to give you the option to be able to make it more of a watermark, right? And keep it really simple that way. Oh, wow, time's going faster than I thought. Again, you'd never see anybody more passionate than me. What I want you to keep in mind here, though, is that you're going to keep this background, the fonts, and the title consistent. So think more formal, less formal, more modern, less modern, more fun and playful, less fun and playful, and keep these 3 sections consistent with each other. With frames, super quick, with a frame, if you're going to put it in a frame, you would not want to have a frame around the chart. So I just unclick that. If it's going to be a big chart where you're going to roll it out at the family reunion, having a frame around it, and again, beautiful options here that really look like frames almost, which is fun. If you're going to roll that out, if it's a big, 12-foot chart that you're going to roll out at a family reunion, this gives it a real polished, finished look. So that's fun. And then these 2 line options down here at the bottom, I want to mention you can display adopted and foster parent-child relationships with a dashed line. If you leave that unclicked, it'll show them. This is mostly for an all-in-one chart. It'll show them with a regular line that's not dashed. And you can also show relationships where they've been divorced with a dashed line as well. Now, I never hit generate chart down here on the bottom. I always come back up to the top, and I'll show you why, to chart options. I would really suggest not generating it from that page, but come back here to this part and come down to step 3. Now that I've customized all that stuff, I want to make sure my main person is the one I want, right? So I didn't really want to start with my great grandfather. I want to start with me, and I'm going to put it in here and just make sure I've got the right number of generations that I wanted. And then you have this choice right here. Now, single page is for printing a large poster, and I'm going to walk you through that for a minute. And then multiple pages is if you wanted to put it on a home printer and print it out yourself on a home printer, and that'll let you choose whether you do A4 or letter. And it'll also let you choose whether you prevent the boxes from crossing the boundaries, which makes it much larger because it's going to space it out more so that it's not crossing the page boundaries. So if you wanted to print it out on your 8.5 by 11 printer and tape it all together, this is kind of what you get. Let me show you here quick. Whoops, let's see. I want to do view. There we go, 2-page scrolling. Okay, let me show you here. What you're getting is a whole bunch of pages that then, this one's not crossing over the page, so it shows me where to cut those pages. And then I can tape that together and I get to fit that puzzle together. It fits together pretty easily unless you do a really big chart this way. I'm going to fit that puzzle together and tape it together. Now, in my opinion, it's much better, and of course I'm prejudiced that way, but it's much better to generate a single page chart and just let us really print it for you professionally. Let's come over to my charts. Let me walk you through that quick and then we'll get to some questions. So if I'm going to take one of these charts here, the MyHeritage system, every time you create a chart, it's going to send you an email. So you can order those charts either from this page, or you can order them actually directly from the email where it says, hey, you've created a new chart, here's your chart. And you can order the poster from there, and that'll take you back into MyHeritage to order the poster. Let me go ahead and do it from here. I want to order this poster here, which is my close family chart. And this is one of the best pages, I think, anywhere. This shows you relation to a door and a couch, how big that chart is. I love that because it really shows you what your options are. And you can select a couple of paper sizes here. Now, it's going to print 21 inches by 94 inches. That's the normal size. A lot of times it'll give you a way to shrink it. Now, be careful when you're shrinking it or enlarging it. Know that that's working on your font too. So if you shrink something small, your font's going to shrink really small too. And sometimes you want it to. Sometimes you want that 6-point font because it's a huge chart and you just want to work on it and you want it small as you can get it. On this one, if I go up to 176 pages, look at that awesome chart I could hang in my dining room. That would be fun. I may just do that. Or I can even go up to 42 inches wide. The reason it gives you these options is because those are the sizes of paper that we print on, the 24, 36, and 42. Those are good sizes to be able to ship safely. And so it gives you those different options as far as what I'm looking for. And then these are the different paper options, and it tells you the pricing for each of those. Again, I love that it tells you right up front what you got there. If you decide to pick laminating, it tells you what that's going to cost as well and gives you the number of posters. Then I just click through and put in my information. It'll ask me for my credit card. It gives you express shipping. Right now, all of the international shipping we're doing is through DHL because of COVID. That's the best way that we found to ship internationally. If you're going to be domestically shipping in the US, it comes USPS. And typically that's 2 or 3 days in the US, maybe up to a week internationally. It's a little bit longer right now because of the quarantine. And then let me show you, once you get that ordered, I want to show you the emails that come through. They're so communicative with you. I would love that. First, you're going to get a receipt for your payment, which is useful if you need to turn it in to a reunion committee or anything like that. Then you're going to get this summary of what you ordered, and you've got an order number, and you've got everything you need there as far as what you actually ordered. And then they give you this support ticket, which I love too, because boom, right there, if you need to talk to anybody, you can reply to this. And the person there knows all about, the poster orders that are coming through. There's your support issue if you need to talk to anybody and say, hey, I need that to ship as soon as possible, which we usually ship them out within about 24 hours, so they go right out. But if you needed to change something, if you needed to, change it to express shipping or anything like that, you can do that with the support thing. And then once the order is shipped, again, within about 24 hours, depending on weekends and things like that, you'll get this email from us, actually, that gives you a link to track that package. And this one has not been shipped yet, so it's just going to say it's in pre-shipment, because I'm not going to ship it to myself because I'm sitting here with it. So just to show you, though, this is what that email looks like. It gives you the tracking number. That'll come either for DHL or UPS, and you can just click right on that, and it'll show you exactly where it is, and you can follow that package all the way to your home. So I think that's it. Mostly, I just wanted to tell you that we see these charts go all over the world. I love that. And I would really challenge you to think about how this is going to change your home. I really feel like having it up in your home, whoops, guess what? That's not coming up where I thought it would. I really feel like having a chart up in your home changes the atmosphere of your home. MyHeritage is a great place to meet cousins. And, because of MyHeritage's great reach, we've been able to meet distant cousins that live on the other side of the world, which I love about MyHeritage. And I think it really changes the atmosphere of your home. Whoops, let's go there. Okay, and I'd just love to hear your ideas. We do have designers. If there's something that you didn't see here that you think you want to do, we have designers that can add maps and icons and timelines, or change out, put in focal photos or even pets. And there are other webinars that we've done with MyHeritage with legacy family tree webinars that talk about some of those other kinds of charts. You can look for those. But so I'd love to hear how you feel about MyHeritage, about the charts, and also about you know, anything talking about charts. I always love to hear about. So please feel free to call me, email me at this address, and I'd love to help you with any issues that you have with MyHeritage or with charts in general. And hopefully this has been helpful to you, and you can put some charts together for your family. All right, Marian, I think we're ready for any questions you've got.
All right, that was great. Here, Maria's saying Janet is very knowledgeable. You can tell that she's invested in what she does. So, so your company, Chartmasters, prints out MyHeritage's charts?
Yes, they send them to us, and we print them and send them out. And we, like I said, we get them out usually within about 24 hours.
Wow.
And that way, you know, you don't have to worry about how to get that big chart printed. Most people don't have big printers in their bedroom closet or anything like that. And this is super simple. You just click it through and it shows up on your doorstep.
So I do have some announcements and stuff to do, but one question that everyone is asking is when you print out your chart, does it say MyHeritage on the bottom?
It does say MyHeritage on the bottom, and they always sign that bottom piece. Let me show you that.
Oh, I'm going to have to give it. Wait, I'm going to have to give it back to you. Hold on.
Oh, you have to give it back to me.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I took it back.
Okay, that's fine. You're in charge. You get to take it back if you want it. But let me just show you down here. Whoa. It's taking a minute. Down here at the bottom, it always has that produced by on the bottom. Okay. They're just signing, you know, what they've designed, which I think is valid. As far as I know, there's no way to take that off. If you're interested in taking that off, I don't know, you'd have to talk to tech support, but as far as I know, that's not an option because they are the people who created the chart. So
yeah, it's like the mark on the back of a holiday greeting card or something.
Well, or on the bottom of a piece of art, really. It's the signature on the bottom of a piece of art. That's the way I look at it, yeah.
Maria's saying she likes that background.
This background, yes, I like this background too, this blue one. Yeah. This is pretty in different colors too, like in a tan or.
Yeah, and Tamara's saying you can always frame over the mark if you want to. So with the
depending on, like on this one, you've got a frame around it, I believe. Depending on the frame around it. If you are going to frame it though, don't put a frame around it. Actually, this one doesn't have a frame around it. So yeah, this would be easy to frame out. Absolutely. If you were doing this one, sometimes like this one over here, if you're rolling out something at family reunion, you know, if you've got a frame around it, that's a good reason though. If you're going to frame it, don't put one of these frames around it. It just takes up space. So.
All right. I'm going to take back the controls and we'll just do some prizes and some announcements, and then we'll come right back and do the Q&A because there are loads of questions. All right, our next MyHeritage series webinar is June 9th. It's with James Tanner. He's going to be talking about how members of the LDS Church can benefit from the Family Search MyHeritage partnership. So you can come back for that. All right, our first door prize is a 1-year MyHeritage Complete plan. So there's two components to the MyHeritage subscriptions. You have the Premium Plus Family Site subscription, and then you have the Data subscription. So the Family Site subscription is where you build your family tree, and you can get unlimited photo storage, and you can contact other site managers. And then the Data subscription is the research part where you have unlimited access to 12 billion historical records, birth, marriage, and death records, all sorts of records. And you can come to the MyHeritage Education Center or Legacy Family Tree webinars and see free webinars on all of these things, because we typically do a webinar whenever there's a new big content, like city directories were released not too long ago, and we did a webinar specifically for that. So you can really learn how to use the data. All right, so let's pick somebody from here, and let's go like that. And this is going to go to Francis Westlund. Congratulations, Francis. I'm just going to write your name down. And you'll be getting an email about how to get your prize. All right, the next door prize is a MyHeritage DNA test kit. The DNA test kit will show you your ethnicity as well as connect you to DNA family matches. So some people are really interested in discovering their ethnicity, what their ethnic background is, and other people are all about the matches. Maybe if you're adopted or you're trying to solve a brick wall, and connecting with those distant cousins will help you get there. Well, so the DNA test kit is going to give you both sides of that. And if you don't want it for yourself, you can get it for a family member. For this one, why don't I have you raise your hand so we make sure. Some people might be DNA'd out, already have 50 tested kits. So in your GoToWebinar control panel on the left-hand side, the very left at the top, you'll see a little thing that looks like a hand. Just press that, and then I will pick somebody who's got their hands raised. And that is going to go to Paula Mims. So congratulations, Paula. And again, you'll be getting an email with instructions about how you'll get a hold of that DNA test kit. And I want to go back to Janet, and let's go start with all these questions.
All right. I'll do my best.
Okay, so the first one here is from Joseph. He wants to know, and I'm not 100% positive that you're going to know all of the answers to these questions, because it is MyHeritage, but he wants to know, is this feature available for the free version of MyHeritage, or does charting require a subscription?
That's a good question.
It's really a really good.
I've had a subscription all this time.
Really important question.
It is an important question. I've been a member of MyHeritage since the beginning, so I really haven't used a free account for a long time. I really couldn't tell you.
So when you're going on to, what's the first top level menu that you hit? Maybe somebody can go check it right now.
Maybe somebody can check it. It's Family Tree is the top level.
Okay.
Family Tree is the top level menu, and then if you go down to More on that menu.
So maybe somebody who's a DNA kit but not a subscription. If that is you, go to MyHeritage right now and see if you can if you have a little tree along with your DNA kit, and that would be really helpful if you could check that out.
Yeah, so Family Tree down to More, and then there's Print Charts and Books.
Okay, and then the second part of that is to come to the chat and let us know. So
yes,
that's the important part there. So I'll be looking down to see if I can if somebody replies. All right. So Joseph, hold that thought. All right, Nancy wants to know, how can you shrink the space between people or shrink the entire chart? Is that possible?
That's a good question too. The Ancestry system does that automatically, the space between people. So the best way to control it is to control the pictures, to control the size of the font, and to control the amount of information. It's kind of, I tell people all the time, it's kind of a triangle with fitting things to certain sizes. It's kind of a triangle between the number of people, the size of the piece of paper, and the size of the font, and whether or not pictures are added. So if you need a smaller chart, you might take out some of the people or shrink the size of the font a little bit, or take out some of the information or the pictures. If you're okay with a bigger size piece of, or if you're okay with a bigger size piece of paper and you have a certain amount of people you want to get in, then you're going to need to go with a larger paper or a larger font to fit, or a smaller font to fit all those people in. But one of those sides of the triangle has to give. So if you're okay with the larger chart, you can go with a larger paper or a larger font. But if you have to shrink the chart, you have to go with less people or less data or things like that. But there isn't, in MyHeritage, there isn't any way to shrink the type or the space in between the people. Now, you can choose a different style of chart. So a descendant's left to right is always going to be a little bit smaller than a descendant's top to bottom. So a descendant's horizontal is going to be a little smaller than a descendant's vertical, just because of the way it lays out. And of course, the sun chart is going to be a little smaller than, either of those, again, depending on how your family charts out. So you can kind of control it by the amount of people, the size of the font, and the style that you choose on MyHeritage.
I mean, you have to consider that MyHeritage is making this available for all the people who use their website. So anytime
Sure.
you anytime you want to get more custom, it's like buying, boutique kind of stuff. The more custom you make
Right.
something, the more you're going to have to expect to pay for
Exactly.
it. And that's not what MyHeritage is doing. MyHeritage is trying to make a really good tool that everybody can use. So
It's an excellent automated tool. Exactly. These are automated charts, and it's an excellent automated tool. But if you need something custom, absolutely, I can
yeah,
help
I
you with
mean, if you need
that. And
something
we can
custom,
take your MyHeritage information easily. So,
yeah.
yeah, and we work with MyHeritage on that. So
Yeah, I
we
mean, I
can
think they
definitely help you
have
with that kind of thing.
so many options right within this
Absolutely.
tool, which is just, I was pretty surprised that
Yeah, absolutely.
they're like just even with the frames.
Right.
All right. I think this might have been answered already with your couch graphic,
Oh, yeah.
but Cookie
Yeah.
says, how do you actually see what the final product will look like when it's printed?
Well, kind of the way I've just done it here. In fact, if you want to give me the screen back, I can show you.
Okay.
And we always suggest that you go in and, make sure absolutely that you know what you're getting printed. We want you to be able to be confident in what you're purchasing. When you go into your charts and look at the things you've already created, any of those you can view the PDF, and that will have you save one of those files. All of those files that I was kind of sliding in from the side were in, whoops, hold on, one more try. We're in Adobe Reader, or some kind of
Okay, so
PDF
these
reader.
are all the PDFs from MyHeritage.
Yes.
Okay.
These ones I was sliding in here are PDFs that I've created and downloaded. So you can go in at 100% or even 150% or more and just take a really good look at it. You can see the graphics are great. All of the graphics MyHeritage puts in there are really, really well designed. And you can see how that information looks, make sure that that's all the way you want it.
Any
And
tips on the photos? Like, is there a certain resolution that you should have as a minimum for the photos?
if you can, it's good to have, we would suggest 300 DPI at the size you want to print them.
Okay.
Most of these automated charts have, even at the large size, they go up to, like I showed you, maybe 1.5 inches. And so that's really not a lot of memory. That's not going to be a huge file. 300 DPI at 1.5 inches is not bad. So most of the photos that we see come through look really good. The only ones that don't look so great are maybe the ones you've taken off the web, like small thumbnails. But usually you can even go in and, take the larger picture and crop it down maybe before you upload it to Family or to MyHeritage. But the best tip actually really, is to colorize these photos. you want to play with
Oh,
that colorization tool, right? Oh my goodness,
yeah.
so fun.
That would make those
And you can
pop.
go in and colorize a bunch of these and
Hmm.
make for a real chart, really interesting
Oh,
chart. One of the things I do love about black and white photos, though, if you choose not to do that, let me show you here when I zoom out to this. One of the things I do love about it is you can see where the modern family is, especially on a big descendancy chart like this. You can see where the modern family is because the colors, the photos turn color.
hmm.
And then when they're black and white, you can see that those are the more antique, that's the older part of the family. So I don't think it's bad to have black and white photos on there, but certainly the colorization tool, the new colorization tool is way fun to play with.
Now,
So either way.
someone had asked, and I don't have the question right in front of me at the moment, but so for those frames that have the silhouettes in them,
Mm-hmm.
someone had asked, if you don't have photos, what would you use? Would you use gravestone
You
pictures?
could put
What
in
would you use?
gravestones, you could put in flags. Gravestones you're not going to be able to read because remember these photos are really small.
Yeah.
Again, that's something you can customize with us, but this is a great tool to be able to get all those photos out that you've got in MyHeritage.
Yeah, I
A
think
tombstone is going to be really small to read, but it might, it's meaningful in that's what you have of them.
the
We
only
see
other
family crests come through. We
yeah, that's
see
nice.
flags come through in there. even other symbols, maybe an heirloom, a picture of a lace doily or something like that great grandma made, or things like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
For myself, I think I like uniformity.
Yeah, I
You
like the
know,
silhouettes. All of them are beautiful.
I mean,
Yeah, the
even
silhouettes
flags
are
you can
great.
do uniform.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, you could do a really cool chart with flags for, that last generation if you don't have any photos. I'll show you where you're from.
so
Yeah.
here's another question from Cookie. She says, "How are charts affected by large numbers of children?"
You mean like descendancy charts, I'm assuming,
Well, like if you're
as far
from
as,
my part of the world here over in Massachusetts, a lot of French Canadian families, and you can have like the
oh, yeah.
mother is from a family of 12 children, and the father's from a family of 12 children.
Yeah.
So how do you
So they just get
how
big.
do you handle that in a chart?
They just get big.
Okay.
That's like the pictures I was showing you. Some of those families just get really big, and those are spectacular charts. Don't shy away from that. That's amazing research you've done. That's exciting to see all of that family information in one place. And if you send that to a cousin or a brother or sister or an aunt or uncle, that's super impressive. Or you roll it out at a family reunion. Those are super impressive charts, and you've collected all that information about the family. They just get big. Again, like I talked about with the descendancy charts, a left to right format is usually going to be smaller. Do it with just names if necessary. If you've got 6,000 people that you're trying to get into, 40 feet or whatever, you might need to take out some of the information, or we can help you with that too, as far as keeping the size to what you need it to.
All right, I've got some information here from Elise, Denise, Joanne, and Eileen, and they all
Okay.
say that you can make a chart even without a subscription.
Oh, great.
So
Good,
thank
good,
you
good, good.
very much, ladies,
Yes,
for
thank you.
that, for
All
checking
of
that
that.
out. Really appreciate that.
Now I know.
Yeah, so that's great.
Good to
And
know.
that makes sense. So that's
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's really generous of MyHeritage to share this really amazing charting tool. That's great. They've built a great tool here.
now I don't know. So do you print the books or no? Is
We don't.
Oh, okay. So
Like I said,
you can't
we
really field questions
no,
on
those
that
are
then.
super easy to just take to Costco or to your local copy center. Those you can get printed anywhere really, and so it's easy to just do that. And they're also, if you're gonna produce any number of them, they get heavy to ship.
Okay.
I think that's probably part of why they don't do that. They're just 8.5 by 11. You can really even just print them out
Oh, okay.
yourself. It's a lot less complicated than trying to print
All
them in
right. So
chart.
just hold it right there. So Elena was wondering where the photo book option is. So Elena, it's on the screen right there at the bottom. Her mouse is kind of
Yeah,
covering
just at
it.
the bottom
So
of the
if you were to
charts.
click there, that's where, and then you can
Yeah.
start customizing the book on the bottom just the way she customized the charts.
Right. There isn't all the design stuff with books as we went through with the charts. Basically, you can choose what you want to put in there, and then you can choose the paper size.
Can you choose
And
the
then
format that it's printed out? Like, can you do it in like a word processor as opposed to a PDF?
no, they're all
Oh,
PDFs.
really? Okay.
Yeah, so you can choose the main person. So I could choose all the descendants, not the ancestors, or I could choose, I could start with me and choose all my ancestors. You can choose those indirect relations. It does print family trees, which is really cool. So there's, the 8.5 by 11 family trees, kind of like you
Oh,
see in the sample
that's
there.
nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of great options for this. You can do the indexes.
Oh,
It'll print all
sources.
of
That
the
was another
sources that you
question.
have.
Somebody had a
Yeah,
question about
super cool.
sources. Yep.
Yeah, super
Good.
cool that you can put that all in a book. And then you can choose whether you want, which type of paper that you want. And you generate that book, come over to this other My Charts page, and it'll show up here. I think I've got one in here somewhere, maybe not. But it'll just show up here on this page as a 8.5 by 11 or A4 PDF, multiple page
Okay.
PDF. Yeah.
All right. All right. So we did answer Joseph's questions. The answer is yes.
Anything else?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's so many here. I don't know if we'll get to them all, but
Okay.
so
Okay.
Gainal is saying if we use our own background images, is it legal to use these charting functions to create charts for genealogy clients? Now, I'm not sure that Janet would know the answer to that.
I'm pretty sure it is. It's like using Microsoft Word or, something else to create a book. It's a tool that you're using.
I mean, you can always just shoot a
I
quick.
don't know. Maybe. I'm sorry, what?
You can always just go to the help on the MyHeritage and just shoot them a question and ask them.
Absolutely.
If you really need to be 100% positive about that. But it's got the MyHeritage logo on the bottom, so I'm not sure that they would mind. So
Right. They're all signed, so that's good.
Roberta wants to know, with the sun chart, wouldn't you start on yourself? Because in the image you showed us, you started with like your great-grandfather or something.
Well, it depends. There's two options on the sun chart. I hope I showed you that. Are you still looking at my screen?
Yep.
I hope I didn't forget this part, but there's ancestors. So I could start with myself and do ancestors, or start with one of my children or whatever. With descendants, I'm not going to do a descendancy chart of myself because I only have 3 kids. It's going to be a pretty small chart. So with that, that's something more that I would send a cousin, and start with our common grandfather, or take to a family reunion or something like that. So it depends on whether you're doing descendants or ancestors.
Okay.
But if I was a great grandma and I had a lot of descendants, I might just start with myself on a descendant one.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Okay. Cassandra wants to know, where do charts give you their print size?
Oh, good question on that one too. So when you go in to order them, let's go back over here. It does tell you the print size. So if you go in to order this one, I love the couch thing, but you do want to know the actual size, right? It gives you this size, and it gives you the options for other sizes, right? So I can take this 22 by 17 inches up to 54 by 42 if I want, and make it the size of a couch, right? So that's one place that you can see it. The other place that you can see it is if I go back to viewing that PDF. Let me slide a PDF in here again, rather than download it again. Down here on the bottom left on Acrobat Reader. Maybe different if you're looking at another PDF reader, but the most common one is Acrobat Reader. Free, you can download that anywhere. Just Google it, Acrobat Reader. That's going to show you down here in the bottom corner. So this chart is actually specifically 54.67 inches by 19.78 inches. And you can set those to centimeters or inches, whichever you'd like. But it's down there in that corner.
All right, Kelly wants to know, is there any kind of chart for adoptees that includes biological and adopted families?
Not in the automated system that MyHeritage has, but we do those often with custom charts.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know of any automated system that does biological and adopted families. So it would have to be a custom chart.
All right, and so this is just reiterating this the answer to this question, because you did answer this question during the talk, but Robin wants to know, can you customize what information is included in any of these charts? And you showed us what the options were. There's specific information. You can't really change that. You can't customize the information, right?
Oh, you'd have to change it in your tree. Actually, let me go back here. Sorry. So in these advanced customization options, when you click on advanced customization, you can, I think she's talking about customizing these.
Oh, it does say custom select specific. Oh, you can do it. Yeah. Okay, so somebody had asked about occupations, and there it is.
You can put an occupation and add that. Absolutely.
So whoever asked for that question, there you go. So you got to hit that custom button, and then
custom button,
and then you can choose all
under advanced customization options.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad we figured that out.
Yeah, and you could always go in. So say I wanted to put in personality traits, right? And personality traits is in here. So say I wanted to say my great-grandfather was really honest and his wife was a really hard worker or something like that. You can always put that temporarily in the occupation field in MyHeritage and then put in the chart and then maybe go back and take that out. Like you don't have to put exactly what he said. That's probably heresy to say that, but you can tweak, you can mess with the system a little bit that way.
So what you're saying, it doesn't say occupation : and then the title. It just says whatever the occupation is.
Actually, you're right. It is going to say fact label. So if I wanted to do personality trait, there isn't a P one here. I might do the short labels and put it under, there isn't a P. I don't know. I'd have to come up with some other thing that meant, like nature. Like what's their personality nature like, and maybe make it an N : because you're right, you are going to have those fact labels. Good point. You can tweak it a bit, but it is still an automated
Well, I
system.
mean, it's pretty good that you can get occupation and all these extra things in there.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. Oh, super cool.
yeah.
And like I said, when I was talking about it in the program, I mean, this is all really engaging to the non-genealogist. Like this brings the person to life. Between that and the picture,
Oh, yeah.
that really tells the story of the person so much better than just, regular stuff.
Catherine
So
wants to
absolutely
know.
use those.
Oh, sorry. Next question here. Catherine wants to know, how do you handle pedigree collapse on charts?
Pedigree collapse. That is a good question. So pedigree collapse is when you have cousins marry each other, and so you've got the ancestors showing in same ancestors showing in two different places on the chart.
Yep.
I'm actually not aware of how MyHeritage's system deals with that. The way we typically deal with it, and the way I suspect MyHeritage does it, is that they make it, well, I'm not sure if they do actually. They may just duplicate it. So you may end up with, that line in two places on your chart. The way we usually deal with it is we make a little notation that says on the person, the first person that's duplicated, we make a little notation usually that says, duplicated on this chart or just duplicate or something like that, and chop part of it off just to save that space. I'm really not sure. You'd have to, if you wanted to email me about that, I'd be happy to look into that and get you an answer on that. No problem. So just janet@familychartmasters.com. I will figure that out for you.
All right. Linda says, are they able to create a chart from a Gedcom file?
You'd have to create a tree on MyHeritage with it, and then you can create it from the Gedcom.
Yeah, so just create a new tree and import the file, and there you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tina wants to know, which chart type besides the all-in-one is good to show a descendant's children by more than one spouse?
If the descendant is the biological descendant and they've had children from more than one spouse, they will show up in a descendant chart. Any of the descendant charts. So really, well, no, not any of them. But the regular descendant charts, they would show up as a second spouse or a third spouse. Any biological descendant will show up with each of their spouses in the descendant horizontal or vertical. The problem is when you have a descendant, a biological descendant that marries somebody who had a previous marriage. So they're bringing stepchildren into the relationship. The previous marriage of that new spouse, so when you've got a biological descendant, their spouse isn't biological, but they'll show up because they're married to the biological descendant. But the previous marriage of that spouse that married into the family is really not biological, and their children are not biological, so they're not going to show up. So if somebody if somebody marries into the family and brings stepchildren into the family, the only way to get those to show up is on an all-in-one chart or on a custom chart. So, but the descendants, the regular descendants charts will show all of the spouses of a descendant, of a biological descendant. Did that make sense?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Hope I got that.
All right. Nancy says, will any chart show 15 generations, probably direct ancestors only?
Sure. Well, or even descendants. Yeah, we see those all the time. They just get big. You can even show all the generations. You've got those options here to tell it how many generations you want. Oh, that one's not clicking because I got on the wrong one. You can tell it how many generations, up to 20 generations, or you can just say show all generations. Okay. And so those ancestor charts can get big. Those descendant charts can get big. Those are really spectacular charts. You can just go and go and go like you can with the sources and everything else on MyHeritage. It just gets bigger and bigger. It's fun. That's the fun of it.
Well, the time has really flown here.
It has. Yeah. I know. I can't believe how quickly.
So I'm going to ask one really quick, easy last question, and then we're going to have to end because it's already time. I'm really sorry, everyone. Yeah. Got carried away there with Janet. It's like being in a candy store looking at all these charts. You start planning, or it's like remodeling your house. Like, oh.
I know. I want that one. That one.
Steve wants to know, what type of material are these printed on?
There's several different materials that we print for MyHeritage. Let me show you here. There's what we call presentation paper. That's a really good question because I can kind of explain this for you better. Professional paper is kind of, we call it a lightweight cardstock. It still rolls in a tube. All of these come in a tube. It's 40-pound paper. It's bright white, archival, all of those things. Vinyl is a thin kind of outdoor vinyl. And all of these are printed with pigment inks. So they're really durable. A vinyl one you could easily use outside. You know, it can go through the rain or the snow and it'll be fine. I wouldn't leave it out in the snow for a long time, you know, and it's really not archival. In 25 years, that's going to turn yellow and crack a little bit. But the paper is archival. The photo paper is just like a glossy photo paper. And then the matte canvas is also archival and beautiful representation. The matte canvas is a canvas giclée. It's the same thing you'd buy in an art gallery when you buy an art reproduction. And typically that's stretched on stretcher bars. And it's just a really rich, kind of a little bit of a texture to it, but it doesn't mess with the pictures or the data at all. It's just a coated canvas like you'd see in an art, like a stretched art canvas. So those are the options for papers there.
Okay.
And if there's any other questions that we missed, I'm more than happy to answer questions over email.
Yes, there are loads of questions, and I'm really sorry, but Jeff really likes us to respect everyone's time, so he doesn't like me to go over with the webinar. So if your question wasn't answered, please either send an email to Janet or contact MyHeritage, one or the other. But I mean, if Janet's printing them, she's probably the first. Good.
Yep.
So just tell us your email address again.
Janet@familychartmasters.com. Okay. And I'm happy to talk to you anytime. JANET@familychartmasters. All one word.
Okay. I'm putting that into the chat so you can all have that there. All right. Well, Janet, thank you so much for your time today and for your enthusiasm. It is so much fun to talk about charts with you because, you know, you just get so excited about it, and that gets all of us excited. So that's great. Any parting words for everyone?
Just stay safe and get planning for all those family reunions that are going to be coming up, because it'll be fun to get back together, and also, you know, makes great gift planning too. So let me know if you have any questions. Lots of great options here with MyHeritage.
Well, thank you, Janet, and thank you everyone for being here today. We appreciate you spending some time with us, and we hope to see you in June for our next MyHeritage webinar. All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks.